I know for a fact, me and Donnie were, this says developments that involve tiny homes are required to provide a storm shelter of adequate size to accommodate all the residents of the development. Donnie, we talked about this. We said we wanted to make it as easy for any tiny homes or any house, any type of housing, because we have a housing issue here.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't ever remember us saying that they would be required to have a storm shelter. Do you?
No. That's something that's probably
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, Laura, I did not even know you were up there. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, sure. So I actually got a copy of the code one day, and I didn't bring it back, and I'm really sorry because I got it, and I didn't feel like I was really welcome to have it, but I'm the one that has the press release, and that's Stacey Shore, and that it is what it is. It's here. But so my complaint is exactly what my lovely lady friend over here said, is that there is absolutely no way to compare the current code, which I have right here because I was on the Board of Adjustment, to the proposed code, or I guess what we're saying now is the adopted code. Any basic contract law, any policy revision, this is from actually the Missouri School Board Association, if you can imagine. Missouri School Board Association knows how to revise policy. They do red line, and they do an obvious, notation of the new language. So you strike the old language and you add the new language, and it's very obvious. And with respect, I've done it myself in this document. So if I can do it, and I know it's ugly and it looks like a mess, and here's the reason, it's because we've moved things. So we've changed the definition of a dwelling unit. We've changed the definition of hotel motel, which maybe to comply with other things. We've added the definition of a modular home. We don't have, I can just go on and on. We've added powers and duties to the planning and zoning administrator. We've delineated all those which weren't previously delineated. In a minor plat, we've changed the ability to make a minor plat from 2 acres to 3 acres. We've changed permits. We've called them zoning. They've changed from zoning to construction and added to item E. Other permits may also be issued in the manner prescribed by this code. We've changed construction permits. We've added the entire section of section 503, which is procedures for construction permits. We've added, we changed land disturbance, that we moved that from Article 1200. And so we've made that article section 504. We've changed the medical hardships. We've moved it from section 800 and now it's section 507. We've changed, the article was Article 600, now is 700, the enforcement and review. We have also within that changed one very specific number. Previously, the time frame for correcting a violation was 90 days. We've changed it to 30 days. So if you have a violation in the code,
20 seconds.
Great. And so then you changed also residential business hours. We've changed from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. We've changed it from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So all that to say, it's almost impossible to go through this code and look and see what the changes are. And it needs to be redlined, it needs to be reviewed, and that's all.
Thank you.
Yeah, not less.
Especially in this.
Here's the RV one.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak with regard to any issue that's on the agenda for the commission this morning?
Sir, I'm supposed to like to ask you a question. If I understood earlier in the meeting, you said you would consider anything. I think everybody in here, if you let us vote right now, would ask you to repeal this land use code and put it on hold for the moment. You three can vote right now to repeal
Okay.
what has been
All right.
enacted.
We're aware. Thank you.
And to go with that.
I'll make a motion to table this.
Thank you.
Send it back to the planning and zoning. seats filled and send it back and let us have some input.
A second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. In the meantime, any of you folks who want to look at this code and have revisions and things you want to see in there, things you want to have deleted, whatever you would like to see, the way we operate, bring it to us.
I'd like to ask, so you told me change the setback and nothing else?
We'll put that.
You don't like allowing
Everything's in
smaller
red.
lots?
I'm saying,
You don't like
Everything's
getting rid
red.
of curb and gutter requirements?
I'm saying there's too much in it. This is like the federal government, instead of doing 101 things at once and changing paragraphs and everything else. He asked me a question, I'm answering it. Change that one thing. I think most people can agree with that, that will help builders, change that one thing. And then, while we consider this, you can have that done, which seems to me, Mr. Hasty, that's probably.
What I wanted to do originally when we started doing this was to make it easier for people to develop lots. Because we had curb and gutter requirements where people had to build a curb and gutter system to get into private road, things like that. I wanted to do people to do it with smaller lots, smaller homes on smaller lots if that's what they wanted to do.
But your job, as my commissioner, is not to make things easier for builders without reading the U.S. and the state constitution and first and foremost, protecting my rights. My rights to property, my rights to liberty, my rights to prosper from my, daily
Fruits
chores,
of your
whatever.
labor.
That is your first job, not to say, well, you want the builders to come in here. I think it's great if you can do both. Your first job is to protect that.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I just wanna, just to clarify, the original intent of this is if you saw what they had to deal with down in planning and zoning, it is, in the summertime, it was overwhelming, and honestly, when I heard Laura speak, permit, add addition, so I was kind of taken aback by that too, but the original intent of what I thought we were doing was to make the process of planning and zoning, because it's a volunteer board, so those people were very grateful, but they'll be there till midnight sometimes going through all this stuff, so I think they've gotten to the point where they're so sick of it, really, they're just, approving everything. And, the original spirit of the revision was to make that process speedier, but then, like I said, when Laura got up there, it's addition, and more restrictive, so I do think it needs to be looked at, but we've got some people that are waiting for the regular planning and zoning, so.
well, something else I want to point out, and this is an important point. The Planning and Zoning Board appointed by this county, they independently reviewed this entire code, and they adopted it unanimously. Yeah, there's a wide variety of people on that Planning and Zoning Board, but there's a statutory procedure here, and the statutory procedure has been fulfilled, and the Planning and Zoning Board adopted by this county reviewed all of this stuff, and they brought this to the commission. These things were presented in public meetings. The entire legal process has been done, and now we're going to set this aside, which is essentially setting aside all the input that Planning and Zoning Board, who was appointed by this county, had with regard to this code. How are we supposed to get people to serve on these boards if we're effectively just spitting in their face whenever they're reviewing the code? Now, I understand you guys want to have some input here. It frustrates me because, honestly, when we had the first meeting and I was expecting the room to be packed and all this stuff to take place, nobody was there. We have voted. We're setting this aside. If you guys have information, that's great. Bring it to us and we will figure out. And I'm not going to do any more hands. I mean, we've gone through this. Everybody's talked. The vote has been made. We're going to proceed with the rest of our commission meeting. So the next thing that is up on the agenda First thing actually on the agenda is Water District Number 2 ARPA funds. So does anyone here want to speak with regard to that?